In quiet neighborhoods, power goes wrong.
The lake was glass that morning. No wind. No boats. No sound except birds cutting the silence. I stood on the deck of my lake house, $5 million of stone, glass, and cedar, watching the sun climb over the water when my phone started vibrating like it was trying to warn me. 12 missed calls. All from the same number. The HOA. I didn't answer. That was my first mistake. While I was away on business for 3 days, the HOA posted a violation notice on my front gate. Not mailed. Not emailed. Not certified. Taped. The violation? Unapproved dock railing color. The fine? $300. The deadline? 48 hours. The consequence? Corrective action will be taken. They never defined corrective. They didn't need to. When I turned into my driveway, something felt wrong immediately. The gate was open. The security camera was hanging sideways, lens shattered. Then I saw the debris. Glass everywhere. Stone cracked. Wood splintered like bones. My house, my home, looked like it had been through a controlled demolition. Except there was nothing controlled about it. The HOA's contractors had gone wild. They tore down the custom dock railing, imported steel, hand-welded in Italy. They ripped out the entire deck to access it. Then they decided the exterior wall color didn't comply either. So they pressure washed. Too hard. They cracked the stone facade. Water poured in. Floors buckled. Windows shattered. The final estimate? $1.7 million in damage. All over a $300 violation. Right in the middle of the wreckage, zip-tied to a post, was a laminated notice. HOA compliance achieved. I stared at it for a long time. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because someone had just made the most expensive mistake of their life. The HOA board had a reputation. Aggressive. Confident. Untouchable. They controlled parking, landscaping, dock access, boat slips, everything. Because everyone believed one thing. The HOA owned the neighborhood. They didn't. They managed it. There's a difference. One they never bothered to learn. HOA President Linda didn't sound nervous. She sounded proud. We resolved your violation, she said. You're welcome. I said nothing. You'll receive an invoice for contractor costs minus your fine credit. I took a breath. Linda, I said calmly, who authorized entry onto my property? Silence. Then, the HOA. And who, I asked, owns the land your contractors just destroyed? She scoffed. The HOA owns the neighborhood. I smiled. Are you sure? I didn't buy one house. I bought the land. Years ago. Quietly. Through holding companies. Parcel by parcel. Every lot. Every road. Every green space. Every dock. Including hers. The HOA existed because I allowed it to manage appearances. Not because it had power. When the development was first built, the HOA was formed under an operating agreement. Buried deep in the filings was a clause no one read. All land remains under master ownership. HOA authority is conditional. Conditional on my consent. Which they just violated. Spectacularly. He walked the property with his jaw clenched. This wasn't repair, he said. This was destruction. I nodded. Unauthorized destruction, he added. I said nothing. I didn't need to. Neighbors started showing up. Some apologetic. Some scared. Some confused. I thought the HOA could do that, one said. They told us they could, said another. I looked around at the broken glass, the cracked walls, the ruined deck. So did they, I replied. They called it that night. No agenda posted. No minutes planned. Panic disguised as procedure. Linda opened the meeting shaking. We may have a situation, she said. Someone asked, what kind? She swallowed. A legal one. At 8:43 p.m., every board member received the same message. From my attorney. Subject line. Notice of trespass, destruction, and breach. Attached. Property deeds, ownership maps, contractor statements, damage estimates. And one final line. You destroyed property you do not own. People started standing up. Talking over each other. Wait, he owns the roads? Does that mean are our houses? Linda tried to speak. No one listened. They thought $300 gave them authority. They thought confidence replaced permission. They thought no one would challenge them. They forgot one thing. You should always check who owns the ground you're standing on. The first contractor showed up at my gate before sunrise. Hard hat in hand. Truck idling. Eyes wide. I didn't know, he said before I even spoke. They told us it was authorized HOA enforcement. I believed him. That didn't change anything. HOA enforcement requires 3 things. Written notice. Right of entry. Owner consent. They had none of them. Instead, they had an email from Linda that said, proceed immediately. HOA has full authority. That email would cost her everything. Once the damage estimate crossed 7 figures, panic spread. Insurance carriers started asking questions. Licenses were at risk. One by one, contractors pulled out. Not because they felt bad. Because liability has a sound. And it sounds like silence followed by lawsuits. Linda's attorney stopped answering emails. Then calls. Then officially withdrew. No explanation. Just a filing. Conflict of interest. That's lawyer language for you're radioactive. Residents gathered at the clubhouse. Not to complain. To understand. What happens to us? Someone asked. I stood at the back of the room, unannounced. You'll be fine, I said calmly. They turned. Faces shifted. Fear turned into something else. Realization. One man raised his hand. Do you own our homes? I shook my head. You own your houses. I own the land beneath them. Gasps. That distinction landed hard. Long-term ground leases. Fixed rates. Protected rights. The HOA was never the authority. It was the administrator. And administrators don't get to destroy property. Her voice wasn't confident anymore. It trembled. We can fix this, she said. I looked at the lake. We're past fixing, I replied. Why did you escalate? I asked. For $300? She hesitated. Compliance sets precedent. I nodded slowly. So does destruction. Not mine. The insurance companies. Against the HOA. For gross negligence. They didn't wait. They never do. Also not mine. A contractor suing the HOA for misrepresentation. Emails attached. Linda's name highlighted. By Friday afternoon, the HOA couldn't pay its bills. Accounts frozen pending investigation. No landscaping. No security. No maintenance. The illusion cracked. Why didn't you check? You told us this was normal. You said you had authority. Linda tried to explain. No one listened. I released one page. The master ownership deed. Stamped. Recorded. Public. One page destroyed 10 years of arrogance. Boats stopped using HOA slips. Signs came down. Guards left. The neighborhood reverted to something quieter. Real. She tried to call the police. Trespass. Again. This time, they didn't even show up. Unauthorized destruction. Environmental damage. Improper shoreline work. Now it wasn't just civil. It was regulatory. Linda stood up to speak. Someone cut her off. Someone else told her to sit down. She left instead. That was the last time anyone saw her as president. Not angrily. Respectfully. How do we move forward? I answered honestly. Without fear. Tarps cover the damage. Glass glints in the sun. A reminder. Power doesn't come from rules. It comes from ownership. By Monday morning, the neighborhood felt like a place that had lost its ruler. Not liberated. Unmoored. The landscaping crews didn't show up. The security gates stayed open. The clubhouse lights never came on. People stepped outside and looked around like they were seeing their own street for the first time. At 9:11 a.m., a message hit every homeowner's inbox. Subject: temporary suspension of HOA operations. No signature. No apology. Just facts. HOA accounts frozen. Board authority under legal review. Enforcement actions halted. Residents advised not to pay dues. That last line did something. It broke the spell. Money is belief made visible. And belief vanished overnight. Automatic payments were canceled. Checks were stopped. Online portals went dark. The HOA's budget collapsed in less than 48 hours. 3 board members met in Linda's living room. No minutes. No quorum. Just fear. We need control back, one said. How? Another asked. Silence. You can't reclaim authority once people learn it was borrowed. My attorney sent a certified notice. Short. Cold. Any further action taken by the HOA or its representatives will be considered willful trespass. Attached: penalties. Personal ones. Board members started resigning within the hour. She still believed in the badge. Still believed confidence could outweigh law. She sent one final message to residents. Accusing me of manipulation. Claiming a temporary misunderstanding. Promising resolution. She CC'd everyone. Again. Including the regulators. The county investigator read it once. Twice. Then highlighted 3 sentences. Threats. False claims of authority. Misrepresentation. Added to the file. Now it wasn't just about my house. Inspectors reviewed past HOA actions. Dock modifications. Tree removals. Shoreline grading. All without permits. Years of shortcuts surfaced in days. A bright orange sign went up near the lake. Stop work order. Residents gathered around it like it was a campfire. Someone whispered, "This is bad." They were right. Fines. Penalties. Legal fees. The HOA's frozen accounts couldn't cover any of it. Responsibility rolled downhill. Straight to the board. Personal liability. No lights. No car. Rumors spread fast. She hired a lawyer. She's selling. She left town. None of it mattered. The paperwork knew where she lived. A woman knocked on my temporary office door. Tears in her eyes. "We voted for her," she said. "We thought she knew what she was doing." I nodded. Most people do. HOAs don't run neighborhoods. People let them. Until something breaks the illusion. Like a $5 million mistake. Affidavits came in. Emails printed. Text messages saved. Every contractor said the same thing. We were told the HOA owned the property. False authority spreads like a virus. Insurance versus HOA. Contractors versus HOA. Residents versus HOA. Everyone suing the same empty shell. Which meant the shell started cracking. Filed quietly. Buried in procedural language. But deadly. Petition to dissolve HOA due to gross misconduct and insolvency. A date was set. 30 days. Residents met anyway. No gavel. No agenda. Just chairs in a circle. They asked me to speak. I didn't stand. I sat with them. I never wanted control, I said. I wanted stability. They listened. Not because I owned the land, but because I told the truth. What happens now? I answered honestly. You govern yourselves. Some smiled. Some looked terrified. Freedom does that at first. She showed up unannounced. Hair undone. Clipboard gone. This isn't fair, she said. I met her eyes. You destroyed a home over $300. She had no answer. Architects returned. Plans revised. Better materials. Stronger foundations. Destruction creates clarity. 30 days felt generous. For something that was already dead. The hearing took place on a Tuesday. No cameras. No crowd. Just a long table, 3 officials, and a stack of paper thick enough to crush egos. The HOA arrived late. What was left of it, anyway? Not Linda. She sent a lawyer. Actually, 2. Both exhausted. Both already aware this wasn't about winning. It was about limiting damage. I sat alone. No folder in front of me. No speech prepared. Everything that mattered was already filed. Truth doesn't need rehearsal. The chairwoman didn't waste time. Did the HOA authorize destructive action on private property over a $300 fine? The lawyer cleared his throat. Yes. That single word ended the case. And did the HOA verify ownership before doing so? Silence. Then, quietly. No. Officials leaned back. Pens stopped moving. You don't need drama when incompetence confesses itself. Photos appeared on the screen. Cracked stone. Destroyed glass. Collapsed deck. A $5 million home reduced to scaffolding and tarps. All for compliance. Someone shook their head. Linda's message was read aloud. The one where she said, "Proceed immediately. HOA has full authority." The chairwoman underlined authority. Hard. The county attorney spoke next. This was not enforcement, he said. This was unauthorized demolition. Words matter. It was brief. Clinical. Motion to dissolve the HOA due to gross negligence, insolvency, and abuse of authority. Seconded immediately. No objections. Approved. Effective immediately. No appeal window. No grace period. Just done. HOA bank accounts seized, remaining funds redirected to claims board, indemnity revoked, personal liability assigned. The badge died quietly. Her lawyer asked for permission. Granted. She believed she was acting in the community's best interest. The chairwoman replied without emotion. Intent does not excuse destruction. Environmental violations were entered into record. Shoreline damage. Unauthorized construction. The fines alone exceeded what the HOA ever collected in dues. No applause. No shouting. Just signatures. The kind that change everything. Word spread fast. Phones buzzed. People hugged. Some cried. Not because they hated the HOA. Then sued. Contractors settled. Then sued. What remained landed exactly where it should have. On the people who authorized it. Stronger. Smarter. More beautiful than before. The new deck curved with the shoreline. No rails to argue about. No signs. Just water and sky. Funny thing. People parked better. Maintained lawns. Solved problems by talking. Turns out authority was never the solution. Respect was. Once a month. Voluntary. No fines. No threats. Just neighbors. Attendance was higher than it ever was before. The HOA tried to enforce control over land it didn't own. In doing so, it proved it didn't deserve to exist at all. I stood on the rebuilt deck at sunset. Same lake. Same calm. Better silence. Someone had left a folded piece of paper on the railing. No signature. Just a sentence. Thank you for ending it. They destroyed a $5 million home over $300. And lost an entire neighborhood because of it. Because power borrowed from assumption always collapses.